Oh, yeah. So, well, apparently you cannot start YouTube stream without going to YouTube. So that's a useful information now. So this goes what is here.
Okay.
So then
Now
after you switch here and you check it's here as well. Just
Okay.
Okay, welcome everyone. Thank you for coming. We're gonna start in a minute or two. I'm just checking last time the stream because it was last time it was a weird issue with it. Today we had also a weird issue with the screen, so hopefully it will be the only problem today. Let's see. Yeah, I think I will fix this, but as far as it's recording, I will fix this after my presentation. Anyway, this will be first short one. I will just tell you what we are trying to achieve here, what we're trying to do. And basically, then we would invite Valeria to speak with her first presentation, and then I will do a bit larger presentation on trends, on modern trends. But first things first, about our community. So, what is ITM and what we are trying to achieve in our community? I will just skip the slide. You already know that I'm a crypto geek. I'm like, I'm all over the place. I'm doing board games and different other meetups like this one and a lot of stuff. So I will just skip this slide, and I think most of you know me pretty well. So at this ITM place, or is it like not a physical place but like a community, right? We would like to provide a high quality ground for all the people that want to share some ideas, thoughts, share their knowledge, share their thoughts about some important topics on a regular basis every month. This is the 4th issue, so thank you for coming. And also, I will speak about that actually later. So this is a hybrid event. It's offline and online. And yes, so online it's on YouTube, and offline it's usually here. Right now it's our house, so we are connected to Rebel. Thanks guys, by the way, for hosting, for providing this awesome audience, awesome room actually. Yes, and this is basically edutainment, so we do try to do it a little bit in the education way, so people will gain knowledge on different topics, and the topics are supposed to change every now and then. I know I speak a lot about crypto because that's my area of knowledge, but the idea is that topics will change more and more when we go forwards with our ITM events. And also we would like to experiment more with formats actually. That's what I'm trying to do, but I'm still struggling a bit with volunteers for that matter, and also with participation. So we need a bit more volunteers and marketing and participation to be able to do, we at least have 3 formats for you guys, 3 new formats that we want to try. But one of these formats will probably work only with like 100 people or so, and then 2 others can work with less, but still we need like, 30, 40, 50 people. That would be just right. And I'm really hoping that after a year of these events, every month, it will grow like it did grow in before, because I did similar meetups before, and they actually grew like from 20, 30 people, 10 people, up to 80, 90 of participation, and up to 300 actually with some large hackathons that we invited a lot of people, and that was quite fun. So we're hoping to repeat the story here and make a bit better event. I have any information other than we actually made a Telegram chat that is somewhere in this presentation. It will appear later, I believe. So what I wanted also to say that all of our dates are already available. So these are the dates. So you've seen the first 3 events. So we are here right now. And these are all the other dates. Might have exclusion on July, theoretically. but the rest would stay this way. And you're welcome to put this on your calendars, and also, you know, call your friends and who might be interested to join. And of course, topics, they will be announced more close to each of the dates through the meetup and through the website. Yes, so basically this idea again about community, right? It's like made to build a framework, so people can use it as a framework for growing their own communities. Something, you know, and in this community in the future, I'm hoping it will shape a basis for the city. So something like Liberstad guys are doing, so hopefully we can reach that as well. So these are our partners and friends. I already talked about Ribal, and we have other partners, and we are always looking into filling these gaps with more awesome guys. Yes, and of course, as I said, photos are all appreciated, so please make photos and share them on Facebook and LinkedIn, and privately for me as well. And yeah, just wherever you can. And actually, we need a lot of help from you guys to be able to make it even better, because right now a lot of things are basically related on me. So I want to make sure that these events will happen regardless of who is hosting them every time. So that's at least the plan. Yes, and you can just follow us everywhere, and also on Telegram. And I think I've used the wrong presentation to make this one, but that's fine. So I can give you a Telegram link afterwards. These are my contacts. And I want to invite Valeria to right away to give her presentation about CSRD. Mics. Can you say something?
Of course. You can open it first.
Yes, I will open it. Give me a second.
Hello. That's a great start.
Maybe I'm thinking this is because of, yeah, if you hold it a bit further.
Tom?
Yeah.
Test.
Maybe use this one. This is safe bet. Sorry. You go. Click here.
Test. Can you hear my breathing?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. My name is Valeria. I work in IT, it's a large consultancy company. I work as a project manager. I manage large transition, medium to large transition in Accenture Nordics. But my education, I'm educated as a master's in economics, but my main profile was in energy, natural resources, and environment, and that drove the interest and actually professional interest in that particular sustainability field. I'm also part of the sustainability community in Accenture, and frankly speaking, I've been pushing it since 2017 in all the companies I worked in. Today I'm going to be inviting you to look at the CSRD Revolution presentation, the future of corporate responsibility. Huh? No?
It's fine, sir.
Yeah. Let's deep dive into that.
Oops. Sorry.
Hey, no spoilers.
I tried to help you, but instead that went the wrong way. If you click up like 10 times. Yeah, there we go. Now it works.
All right. The agenda for today is a lot, and I managed to highlight some acronyms. We are gonna, we're not gonna need all of them. There are a lot, but maybe like a couple. Then we're going to go to the drivers and content for ESG. Look at the regulatory overview of what regulation we are talking about, what is new. Look at the CSRD and ESRS and figure out what it stands for. Look into EU taxonomy, and then we'll have a summary. Acronyms. You don't have to focus on all of them. The most important one are the CSRD, which stands for Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive, then ESRS, European Sustainability Reporting Standards, and that's basically what the CSRD is based on, and non-financial reporting directive, here it is. And if we find some kind of, to be honest, I don't remember all of them, obviously, so if we find something that we don't remember, or like I don't remember, we can get back to the slide and check it out together. Yes, let's start with ESG drivers and context. Unfortunately, a lot of companies have been using sustainability as a greenwashing method by providing the alternative sustainability reporting statements and reports, along with the management reports and financial reports. This is not an obligatory thing to do. So basically the reports had no structure and could not be comparable. It's just some information for the investors, basically, for the company. And that was like one of the main drivers why CSRD was put in place. Okay, this is stressing me out. Yes, here we go. So you remember there was a Kyoto Protocol in 1997, then there was the Copenhagen Protocol, then Paris Agreement in 2015 when EU companies decided, EU countries decided to keep the global temperature rise below 2 degrees, and then decided that it's kind of ambitious and could lower to 1.5. And in only 2019, EU Commission presented EU Green Deal, the growth strategy, on how to make Europe the first climate neutral continent by 2050. So of course they had to come up with some legislation that's going to force the industries to produce less emissions, to be more business sustainable, to be more climate neutral. So they came up with CSRD and EU taxonomy that we are talking today about, tackle global challenges and reduce environmental, social and governance impact, the new regulations for EU, and those two are kind of similar thing but for US and North America. Yes, let's look closer to the regulatory overview of those two and how they are correlated. So let's start from EU taxonomy. That's a classification system for environmentally sustainable activities. Basically, like in 2 words, it gives you the framework to assess whether this or that activity that the company performs is being sustainable. It provides the common language to assess related to climate change to further environmental goals. It tackles direct investments. Basically, it helps you to figure out how the money goes and if it goes towards the sustainable projects, goes. For CSRD. CSRD was based to sharpen the existing non-financial reporting directive and tackle its shortcomings. It's gonna be, the scope is bigger, it's more complex, and it's gonna tackle not just EU companies, but the companies outside of EU eventually that are going to operate in that are operating in the European Union. It standardizes non-financial reporting. So basically, instead of having a separate sustainability report, the companies, all the companies in the EU are going to be obliged to produce sustainability metrics within their management reports. And this is going to be comparable from company to company. So the standards are going to be the same, the metrics are going to be the same, so basically we can compare the performance of the company, which provides more transparency. And those are based on compliance with the environmental sustainability reporting standards. Targets forward-looking information, transparency, and has more than 700 quantitative and qualitative KPIs. We're going to get there too. The relationship between those two, they kind of tackle both each other. The EU taxonomy is more focusing on financial, CSRD is focusing on ESG. The EU taxonomy KPIs must be disclosed alongside the CSRD KPIs. So whatever is in scope for CSRD is also in scope for EU taxonomy company-wise. Yes. Let's talk about CSRD more. As I said, it's based on the existing non-financial reporting directive from 2024, basically this year. It has a broader scope, so larger companies are going to be compliant year by year. We'll look at the timeline later. It will later include small SMEs up to 10 employees and non-EU companies that operate in EU. CSRD specifies what information to be disclosed and how to disclose it, basically based on those standards. There are lots of new requirements where double maternity is a key. Double maternity is actually principally a new thing. Basically, we are not just disclosing how, for example, how climate change how the company affects the climate change with greenhouse gas emissions, but also how the climate change affects the company's well-being. So it's always a circle. And CSRD requires third-party limited assurance. That's a new thing. That's a timeline. That's just to stress it out how urgent these things are for many companies. So we are in 2020. Someday I'll learn. We are in 2024. So basically, already this year, the companies that are subject to NFRD are obliged to report according to the new legislation. And next year, the other large companies of 250 employees and net revenue of 40 million euros and total assets of 20 million euros, with two requirements of this three, are going to be obliged to report according to CSRD. And by the end of that, in 2027, the listed SMEs are going to be obliged to report. So you can see that it's going to tackle all the companies, not just the large ones, not just the medium ones, but also the small SMEs. And by 2028, they want non-EU parental companies to report on any operation they are doing in EU according to those standards. Let's look closer to the ESRS. We already looked at the key facts of CSRD. This is very repetitive, so let's just skip. So ESRS, Environmental Stability Reporting Standards in nutshell. They're covering ESG, environmental, social, and governance pillars. There are sector agnostic, sector specific, and entity specific. So first we go to ESRS 1, ESRS 2. Those are general requirements and general disclosures, the same for all the companies and industries. Those are very basic ones. And then the topical standards. 5 for environment, 4 for social, 1 for governance. Just as conduct here. Let's not repeat and just get back into that. So the standards are very, very complex. Basically, under each standard there is a disclosure requirements list, and then under each disclosure requirement there is the key performance indicators and then the data elements associated with that. So the companies are, to be honest, last year already there are lots of large clients who are a little bit shocked because not every client who is subject to CSRD from this year had the environmental management system in place and were tracking all of the data elements that CSRD is requiring the companies to track and report on next year. Frankly speaking, the industry is a little bit caught off guard with that, and right now a lot of consultancy companies are trying to provide new technology to tackle and track those data elements and help the clients to get on board with the new legislation and be compliant. So, as I said, the legislation is quite complex, the framework is very complex, it has 12 standards, 104 disclosure requirements, 760 KPIs, and all of that needs to be kept track of, and more than 1,000 data items indicated. It's actually a huge business case for many right now. I understand that this presentation might not be very, very closely related to technology, but a lot of companies are trying to provide the technological advancements in order to track that data. The data is both qualitative and quantitative, like transition plan or the total carbon price. So let's get into the standards themselves. So those are the general ones I told you about, ESRS 1, ESRS 2. As for general requirements, it's basically how the company sees sustainability, what the sustainability statement it is providing, under CSRD, how it links to its strategy, how it links to its culture, and things like that. And there are general disclosures for ESRS 2. It's a cross-cutting disclosure requirement for sustainability reporting, tackles strategy, governance, materiality assessments, sustainability impacts, risks, opportunities, things like that. All the basic things, very high level. Then the low level requirements, E for environmental, 5 ESRS E1, E2, E3, etc. Climate change, pollution, water and marine resources, biodiversity and ecosystems, resource use, and circular economy. You can see that here we can see that the materiality principle is in place. Basically, it's important how companies' activities are impacting climate change, but also how the climate change impacts the company's well-being, tracking of greenhouse gas emissions, etc. For pollution, it's going to be emissions to air, water, and soil. How company mitigates negative effects, how they're using the precautionary principle in that mitigation. For water and marine resources, use of marine resources, and whether the company manages impact. Biodiversity ecosystem, basically the same logic here. And for resource and use of circular economy, also the same logic here. But the thing is that lately circular economy became kind of a trend and a new thing, and EU is pushing a lot for that. Circular economy is basically how we can imply a principle of circularity and reuse, and design the product in a certain way that we can reuse and extend its lifetime by recycling it over and over again into the product. Okay, this screen is moving. Oh, this is not.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
so the largely.
Yeah, for the social, so for standards again, all workforce, impact on the workforce, including working conditions, equal treatment, human rights, all the good stuff. Workers in the value chain, impacts on workers in the value chain, working conditions, human rights, and how company handles the impacts. Affected communities, both inside EU and outside of EU, actual potential impacts on the communities, in close proximity to company separation, alongside the value chain and how the company identifies and handles those impacts and engages with the communities. Consumer and end users, impact on them, products or services, including information that impacts digital privacy, GDPR, things like that, personal safety, health, health and safety, social inclusion, non-discrimination rules. Yes, and the last one is the governance. There's the business conduct, the company's corporate culture, supply management, anti-corruption, bribery, political engagement, whistleblowers, animal welfare, and practices. I think that's it. Yes.
I need to grab a mic, but basically,
One more slide for specific standards. So there's nothing to talk about because they haven't published them yet. They're going to be publishing them in November 2023. And those are the planned industries. Last time I checked, they still haven't published it, and they postponed it till 2024 mid something. So waiting.
yeah. So my question was, how many companies right now are compliant or trying to be compliant?
We don't know yet because the fiscal year has started and they haven't submitted their reports yet. So
But
we don't know.
is there any estimations?
No, it's kind of impossible to estimate beforehand. But to be totally honest, they have been producing stability reports, but it doesn't mean that they've been tackling all the bigger elements because the framework is massive and a lot of clients are on fire and a lot of consultancy companies aren't ready to help them with this yet because the data is not in place. The framework is not in place yet.
Okay. now you can clearly hear me. Now we have this awkward screen issue, but do you have, is this stand or do you have any more slides?
I that's about it. I have more about EU taxonomy, but I think it's good to start with step by step.
Do you guys have any questions? Now we have a fixed mic. Yes.
Thank you very much. I'm curious about a couple of issues. Number one, I assume Norway is just as, or Norwegian companies are just as obligated to
Yes.
follow all these
Mm-hmm.
regulations as EU countries. I come from a commercial background, and I have to be honest, I see all that massive reporting requirements. I'm kind of a little bit. I'm asking myself that all these requirements that have, of course, good intentions, to what extent it results in a massive bureaucracy that doesn't necessarily. I understand we need something that is pushing us in the right direction to achieve our goals, but I'm asking myself whether this is actually achieving it, or whether it's just putting an enormous burden on or bureaucracy on a large number of companies that might not be able to or in position to fulfill. I understand large-scale corporations, but all the small, medium-sized ones?
Yeah, I agree, but that's why the timeline is until 2027.
Yeah.
Right? And frankly speaking, right now, the companies that are already obliged to report according to, not obliged, but supposed to be compliant with non-financial reporting directive that's already in place. I'm not an expert of that. I don't know how close it is to CSRD, but CSRD is larger in scope. So it's a big deal. Last year, a lot of clients of Accenture reached out and asked whether we can do this work for them. And a lot of large Big Four consultancy companies are right now trying to drive sustainability reporting and audits and help them with that. So you're absolutely right. The bureaucracy is crazy, but once the environmental once the environmental management system is in place, and it's like it's tackling them year by year, right? The same indicators. So you got to just get it started.
Just one last question. Do you personally see any business value creating opportunities as a result of this, beyond, of course, your own consulting and advising and selling software? I mean, can EU companies use this new regulation to build some competitiveness, or are they simply putting themselves in a place where they fall behind the rest of the world, which is not following these requirements?
Well, to be truly honest, if you're trying to be climate neutral by 2050, you've got to do something. I mean, that was their idea to begin with, so they should have reacted somehow. They already decreased the temperature goal by 0.5. They already realized that many countries are not following up on their goals, and they had to do something that's going to be the same for all the companies in the EU, all the countries as well. And basically, the good thing in here is that we can clearly compare one company's performance to another company's performance, not rely on some BS sustainability statements and promises, right? Like Shell decided to publish after they spilled loads of oil in the Marine Bay. So there is good and bad of it, because of course I find for industries and for companies, and especially for medium to small enterprises, that's a huge additional cost. And I think it's going to be hard for many. But the timeline is there. I don't think I should debate on whether it's a good decision or not. And the legislation is also in place, so we've got to do something about it.
Okay, one more question.
Is it reasonable for it to be empowered by 2027? According to you?
I think it depends on the country. I think in Norway it's more possible than in other countries, in a little bit less advantaged countries.
Any more questions? No? Okay. Then applause to Valeria. Actually, guys, I want to ask you to do this twice as hard, because Valeria came here on her birthday to give this presentation. So, please stay with us until the end. Don't run away if you can. Okay, so let's continue. Had a couple of slides somewhere around here. Yes. Where is the clicker? I am assuming you took it somewhere here. Nice. Let's see if it works. It does. Okay. So back on track with a lot of modern trends, right? So on the side of like government regulations, oh, this mic is so awesome. I love it. It's so clear. So on that side we discussed a little bit, but what about like playful side, right? So stuff like AI, stuff like 3D printing, and different modern topics that I'm gonna go through. Actually, I'm gonna go right away without any further ado. So first, well, let's discuss 4 questions that we need to ask when we are speaking about these trends, right? So what they are, how they are affecting us right now, how they will affect us in the future, and of course also, should we do something about it? Should we act on it somehow, or should we not? So I figured out, I built a list of 13 points here, so lucky number, with the things that they are quite different, and the markets are really, really different, but I will talk a little bit about all of them, and I'm hoping this is not going to be too boring, and I'm also hoping, guys, who are out of you who are interested in at least one of the topics? Can you raise your hands? Okay, almost everyone. That's awesome. So then, definitely, let's go and let's start with the first one, which is AI. So I did a like similar thing with each of the topics or domains, if we can say, and about AI. There's one marketing, or is it marketing? Yeah, I guess marketing term, or not a market term, which is called CHR, or as I like to call it, Cougar. I don't know, but you can call it however you like. And this is basically a compound annual growth rate. So that means how much the area or domain of knowledge or something will grow, or how they are assuming they will grow, right, during the next year. And then basically this is a complex percent, so 37%, that means it will sort of accelerate, right, because 37% every next time it's sort of more and more. But of course it depends on the domain. So starting with AI, this is a lot of these predictions come from the same companies, so even if the predictions are wrong, we still can trust them to some extent, because at least they are built by the same people, so they can be both wrong or correct about most of the things, I think. So that's the point of having, you'll see a couple of other graphs like that. So speaking about AI, very, very modern, very popular topic, and of course a lot of companies, both new companies and old companies are joining this train, so to say, of AI. All right, so they are doing AI research, they are building AI hardware, AI software, a lot of different things, and this is super awesome. And this is like only scratching the top surface of what the companies they are, because realistically there's much more, over than 1,000 companies I think nowadays that are working to make AI grow, I guess, or to make AI possible and feasible for everyone. But right now there are still challenges about that, right? So with AI, the challenges, like I deliberately put these 4 images here. So I asked AI to make pictures for this talk, right? So that's what it did. And you can clearly see that the text is still problematic. The hands are sometimes still problematic on photos especially. But it is improving year by year, right? Like a year ago, it was like completely nonsense. Now it gets to the point where it almost can write. So it really accelerates. Yes, so of course, with that acceleration, the resource requirements are also growing, and they will grow even further. So at the same time, we need to shrink our ecological footprint. So this goes a little bit ahead of like we have like theoretical goals and we have our physical achievements, and our physical achievements right now are overcoming our theoretical goals. So we need to do something about it. So how do we do it? It's a great question, but I think efficiency is growing and improving, and with improving efficiency, it will be cheaper and more affordable, and also more eco-friendly to develop something related to AI. I also did a little bit of like indexing or tiering of AI, and this is my model. This is nowhere like professional or anything like that, but this is my overview where we are now. So basically there are 3 tiers, and the first tier we already did like long time ago. I think it's first like in the 80s or 90s or something. So that's basically a single function AI, which does one particular function, right? And which is not an algorithm, but it's a trained network. So that we did quite some time ago. I think some of you on the audience might know the year, but it was quite some time ago. We are here in this human trained multiple functions AI. So these AI can do a couple of functions, but I call it cheating. I call it cheating because right now what humans do, they train 3, 4, 5, 6 different models, and then they just make a web UI that just unites these models. So that's not really models working together. That's cheating. So we need to move to state B, where you see AI concatenates functions by itself. This is a very important point. And when this will be achieved, we will see like a growth of new topics, I believe, in AI. And especially the number 3 will be achievable. This is basically the same as B, with only one difference, that this type of AI will also be able to teach itself, or study by itself, so to say. So humans will be less and less involved in the development of AI, and it is already happening, but it will be even more, and then, well, you know what's going to happen. So we need to accelerate also with neural interfaces, and we need to accelerate with cyberization or replacement of some of our physical abilities with some of the parts for improvement of human bodies, for space travel, and so on and so forth. Because if we don't do that, you know what's going to happen, right? So we're probably going to be replaced at some point, and that's right now, resource-wise, it makes sense. So then we also need to find a way to make it more efficient. Yes, so of course AI is going to develop no matter what. This is the reality that we're living, and if 10 companies say that they will slow down development of AI, that will not stop any country that are actually doing it. So there is no going back. But a lot of people say that AI is stealing jobs. I do not agree with that. AI is improving person earnings, actually, because instead of having to do like a monkey job, as we call it, like code monkeys or whatever you want to call the people who do coding or any other heavy-duty job, or maybe conveyor with cars or whatnot, instead of that, we can actually not only replace it with automates, but also make these automates teach by themselves. So it improves process a lot. So then we need engineers that develop these stuff, right, to work together. So that's when the jobs are created, and these jobs will be much better paid, actually. So there is no problem. It's, you know, people always was afraid, like, oh, what's going to happen with horses when we replace the horses with cars? They were always afraid. The same they was afraid with, you know, airplanes and balloons and zeppelins, right? And a lot of things that people were always afraid, and people were always angry that they will lose their jobs, and they will. But that's okay, that's good for them. They need to understand that, because that will push them into developing and growing, right? So, yes, learning, that will be the key to stay relevant in the market. I think you all know this, and that's good about it. So we shouldn't actually do anything about it, really. So let's move to the next topic. I will stay on some topics a bit longer, and then on the others a bit shorter, so you are not getting too bored. Quantum computing, also a very, very trendy thing. You can see our cougar rate is 27. And the market is really scaling up, and it will also most likely continue to do that. And we can see a lot of companies like D-Wave and some other companies like IBM and whatnot appearing in many different domains actually of quantum computing. And the most important part though, that quantum, first of all, let's speak about challenges. So the challenges, there are main three challenges, and I actually sort of think that scalability is the most important, but we also have quantum decoherence and error correction. And basically, to be able to tell in quantum that something was computed well enough or correct enough, right now what we do, we shorten the time span of quantum computing. So if we do it too long, it will be very, very unequal, so we need to do it quick. So right now this is the way, and we also add error correction. So error correction helps a lot. Because in quantum you kind of have all answers at the same time, so you need to figure out what to do with them. So you do error correction and you do filtering through some algorithms that I'm not competent to talk about, so I will not. And then scalability, of course, so basically that needs a market push. So all the people in the world, eventually I hope so at least, will be having access, at least maybe a remote access to quantum computers. It's already possible, but to larger quantum computers, and maybe in the future we'll have a personal quantum computers, which would be awesome. Yes, so right now the situation is like that. We have laboratories and we have working groups and we have companies that work on that, but that needs to be more cheap, more affordable, and more companies and more people need to work on that, and that is what is going to happen, I think, at least. And yeah, I already speak about that. So let's move to IoT. IoT is Internet of Things, if you don't know, and this is also a hot market topic that is growing. And a lot of companies, this is even wider, this is for 2023, and this is only scratching the surface, of course. Some companies that do a lot of proprietary stuff, like Siemens, Microsoft, ABB, Oracle, IBM, and so on. Some open source companies here as well, Red Hat, Canonical. So basically they are developing different things for Internet of Things. And for that, actually, we are already having it here. We have some issues with that so far, but it's improving, and 6G is the next generation of communication. It will help because 5G already includes a lot of decentralization in itself. 6G will be even better. So really waiting for that. So we need to build more infrastructure for all this to happen, and that is happening already. We need to develop more open source software that will power these things. Of course, we have all these challenges to solve. We need to find clever ways to save on ticks and storage. This point is especially important because governments right now are requiring people and, not people, but companies to record the data, right, to save the data. And IoT market is, so for you to understand, it's like immersive amount of data. Like every second, all the weather stations in the world sends like a couple of kilobytes, which is not a lot, right? But then there's millions of stations like that, and they're saving a couple of kilobytes. If you're gonna record that, no hard drives will be enough, and no NVMEs, anything like that. So we need to search for new business models. We need to talk to government to find maybe ways for not recording that and finding ways to just push it through like it was in the old internet. And we need to educate people on how to use all of these things and how IoT will improve your lives in the future. So right now, basically, yeah, I already talked a little bit about that. So we are dealing with the governments, so we have to follow their laws and stuff like that. But this is a lot of limitations, basically. So we would like a maximally decentralized and a quick infrastructure at a minimum cost. So basically we need to go back to Web 1.0, right? So Web 3.0 is actually sort of realizing what Web 1.0 was going to make. So it was going to be a fully decentralized hub where the money and the information and everything goes through. So we couldn't do it with Web 1. In Web 2, companies, like largest companies, overtook and stolen Web 1 from us and took it to their own domains, and now we're taking it back. So crypto will help with that, and IoT will help with that too. So buy your own, cattle, but not the one that connects to Google Home, but the one that connects to your local deployment of your home hub, let's say Open Hub or whatever you have at home, right? Yes, so moving a little bit from IoT to decentralization already. So this is a very large topic, and of course, this topic is growing. And this is one of the hottest, actually, so I will talk a little bit more, and this topic includes a lot of subtopics that I mentioned here. So we have 70% growth in the blockchain industry. So as you can see, this is probably the highest number. We will look at it a bit later. We have crypto growing at about 27% rate every year, and mining will grow about 4 times in 10 years, and we have 13% CAGR. And Web3 is growing, cybersec is growing, as you can see. Building crypto nodes or validators also growing, but unfortunately there's no clear market data, or probably marketing companies that do this analysis, or research companies, they don't have enough education to understand what is validation and how to calculate it. It's a hard topic. Also CBDC. So for now, it's a very young market. There's no calculations, but a lot of countries already accepted crypto as the way of payment. And it will be even more, so dollar and all other currencies, kroners, it will all go to CBDC. There is no other way, that's for sure, because this is the only way to program money. If you want to program right now, normal money like kroners, you have to make your own processing, inputs, outputs, and program it inside, so it doesn't really work. But with CBDC, you could program it at least, so there is some benefits if you already hate CBDC, like, is there somebody who hates CBDC? Is there somebody who loves it? No opinion? Okay. I personally don't like it, but I think it has some beneficial sides as well. So CBDC, if you don't know, it's a central bank digital currency. So this is like the next generation of digital currencies that will be made by all the central banks in the world. That's going to happen quite soon, and it is already happening. Yes, and these are some of the companies, a sample, that are involved in the decentralization movement, right? So they are involved in the different domains as usually. They provide exchanges, they provide capitals, they provide consulting, they provide gaming, they provide digital services. And of course, there's a lot of challenges to the blockchain adoption. However, I found this image, somebody made this image, and I think it's a bit wrong, so I fixed it. So realistically, this point is wrong. If you've been to our pre-last meetup, there was a guy from BigFM, if you remember him, Vasily. He was talking about why this is wrong, right? His whole presentation was about why this is wrong. So actually, cost of implementation of blockchain drops significantly. For instance, if you want to launch your own blockchain, like let's say 5 to 10 years back, you had to invest average of $2 to $3 million or so. Right now, you can do the same scale at about $200,000 or less. And if you can even run your own blockchain yourself for free on your own nodes, but it's not going to be that scalable. So I would say maybe soon it will be $50,000, and then small companies, small businesses can run their own blockchains, no problem. And these square boxes that I made means that it is partially solved. So let's say privacy or security, it's solved by Monero blockchain already. Energy consumption, it's solved by Chia, it's solved by some Ethereum forks that I don't want to discuss now. Illegal activities, yeah, it's sort of solved in some blockchains. There are also some ID companies that do the identification on the blockchain for you, so you can be sure that you are, transacting where you want to transact, and so on. So I think the future, if you remember, this slide was before, actually, on the previous presentation. So it will also continue to grow. All of these ecosystems will definitely grow, and of course, the economy of modern world cannot live without programmable money, right? We need programmable money, and we can see a lot of ETFs are created. Actually, just yesterday, if you heard, Ethereum ETF got accepted. I don't know if it's 100% true and 100% complete, but I heard the news. So then we have a Bitcoin ETFs and Ethereum ETFs, so more capital influx will come from governments and different institutions. So that's even better for the market. So they are now in the market of Ethereum, not only Bitcoin, and then all the other coins will follow with their own ETFs. So that's also going to happen. It's just a matter of time. And yes, also an interesting point that the market is still growing if you've seen some models. And basic income and similar ideas have to be realized through crypto because there are no other clean ways to do that. Yes, so let's move to the next topic, which is open source. It's a little bit less fascinating in the growth rate, but it's still growing. And very importantly, open source is the topic that is empowering the crypto and empowering almost all companies, about 70% companies. So about 4 times growth rate in 10 years, which is also not bad. And that is what is happening right now with the open source. And these are some examples. You might see some companies that you know here. A lot of them are quite good. You might not see some companies that are actually super nice, but like Grafana community, I believe, is really awesome, but it's not here. But anyways, regardless, these are some of the examples of the companies that are pushing the open source market to the public, and they are doing a great job, and there's even more companies to come. Yes, so right now I think the reporting that I found says that over 70% of companies use some sort of open source software in their business models, in their workflows somewhere. Yeah, even if you use Android phones, right, or if you use a lot of devices, servers, and so on and so forth, even if you don't realize that you do it, you might do it anyways. And on average, there is about 300 million companies in the world, so if it's 70%, you can calculate it's about 200 million, right? So this is the amount of companies that uses open source. So it's actually a large market. It's underestimated, I think. It's underestimated. And I split this market into 3 domains, which are different in size, and they're like reverse, basically. So this is the smallest domain, which means open source focused companies that are only developing like directly related to open source, right? So then there is companies that are distributing or contributing open source stuff. So this is like more modern and well-known companies. And then there are some companies that uses open source, or they might even not know that they use open source products. So these are million companies actually. And these are tens of thousands and thousands accordingly. Yes, so if you look here, this is like a live data. You can go to that website to check it out. So this is actually like contributions that are coming into open source market. So you can definitely see large companies joining the contribution like Google, Microsoft, Red Hat, Intel, IBM, Amazon, GitHub, SAP, Huawei, NVIDIA. And you can see there's like 330 records of the companies, and these are a number of their contributions. So a lot of development is coming through the open source domains. That's great. And challenges are these. I would actually say that most of the challenges are in bold, the top. So sustainability, quality control, governance, and community management. I would actually start with community management. Definitely community management can be either somewhat very good or neutral. I have not seen like really bad examples with open source, but I've seen really bad examples with proprietary software with some companies like IBM and Dell, but that's a separate story. So community, it's hard to manage. Communities are hard to manage and they're hard to build. So that's a very important topic. Also, of course, quality control that needs to be done anyways. And you have all the other domains that you need to also think about when you are building your open source software or open source hardware or whatever you are building. Yes, so, but importantly, I think that it is actually not about open source. It's about any company. So if we switch from open source to any company, they have the same requirements. So basically, open source doesn't add a lot of new domains to research upon. You need to do about the same things, basically. Yeah, and how does it grow now? So we basically need to build communities, and we need to enforce and empower these communities to be able to interact and improve, and also we need to increase corporate support, I think. So, I mean, a lot of corporations already use open source, but some of them do not commit back, so that's also a point of view. And also, you need to think about the future, so how would you solve some future challenges that are coming. So, yes, especially for the generations to come, that would be an important question. This I just wanted to reference my older presentation, right, about open source. So if you want to know a little bit more about that, please just go back to our website and follow these links to the previous presentations and look them through. So I wouldn't stop on open source anymore here. So metaverse, all these metaverse things that were going around a couple of years, 2021, 2022, and now they are a little bit dimmed and a little bit less pronounced, but some companies still release a lot of products like Meta and Apple and some other companies, the smaller companies. Actually, the market is growing pretty wildly. We may not see it, but it does underneath, and it's 44% growth rate. So it's kind of awesome, and what I'm waiting in this market really is for the headsets, because the headsets are still not there. Even with this newest Apple, what was the name of headset? Vision Pro, thank you. Apple Vision Pro. It's a lot better than it was, and with Meta Quest 3 or something, it's also a lot better, but it still need to improve. And for it to improve, we need the improved GPUs. So we would need improved computing power and also less computing power needed. So it needs to be portable, right? So it needs to use battery, then it needs to be even more efficient. So these challenges would need to be overcome. So I'm already speaking about challenges, even though we have not moved to them. So there's this is an overview of some companies that work with the metaverse development, right? You might know a lot of them. And especially interesting points here is like companies like Roblox, which are companies that originally were doing mobile games. They thought about, why not we move a little bit to a different domain and start working on metaverse development. And this is quite interesting to see companies like, or Nike, or some other companies that are not directly related, maybe indirectly, they are making their own products. So this is interesting and it's going to be more exciting in the future, I think. Speaking about challenges, of course, there are technical limitations. As I spoke about headsets, I think that's the main problem right now is the technical limitations. So when they will be overcome and the energy efficiency. Also, we need to go to the same problems as we probably matched on the different markets, we've seen on the different markets. So all of these problems will, in time, be found a solution. They will have solutions found to them, right? And they will be different, maybe better or worse solutions, but they would be found. And there's also like a physical, mental concerns that are important. But I think this is like building plotting the area for the metaverse now, and then in the future, it will be existing there. So a couple of extra information here. I found this nice 7 layers of metaverse image, which shows like the infrastructure level, the interface level, the decentralized level, right? And then like a newer domains that are not really existent right now in per se, but they are starting to become relevant, more and more relevant. Spatial computing, actually, it already exists, but these ones are very, very weak. They are just very new, very weak in this realm, right? So it's only happening, and it will definitely need all these technologies underneath in the infrastructure, in the core, to be able to grow outwards in all the dimensions. I have one image that is actually allowed. I'm allowed to share. That's nice. All right. So some problems. What if we speak not about challenges, but what actually metaverse can solve? Because a lot of people don't even understand why they need metaverse, right? So you can solve multiple things, and right now it's a little bit strange, but I mean, it's a strange list of things, but when originally a lot of technological things appeared, like mobile phones maybe, and a lot of different stuff, it also was uncertain. What would it solve? What would it be used for? So you can use it for all this stuff right now, right away, but we would build more domains in the future for that to be, for metaverses to be used. So I think our lives will be sort of more in the metaverse when everybody finally gets the gadget that they can daily use. Right now it's a challenge. Not everyone can use them every day. Yes, so basically we need to work on realism as well. So we need the technological basement or infrastructure level to be able to make it work. Of course, we need interoperability. So for that, we need open source, definitely, because that's a connection layer from every actor to any other actor. And of course, we need a lot of startups and innovations for it to be able to exist. And I think that's what's going to happen. That's what is going to happen. Now, moving to the next domain, international startups. This was tough because it is such a large market that not a single company done well, there is a link, but like the analytics that I was searching for, it's non-existent. So the meta level for startups, global startups ecosystem, this is the most meta level I found, but it's not meta enough. So this report does not include a lot of things, but it is the best I could average for startup market is 30% CAGR rate. And we have these ties and nodes, that the locations that are tied to the startup ecosystem right now. And I feel it's a little bit bad because I feel Oslo should be here. Not only Oslo, a lot of different other cities should be here. Why they are? Well, they are there actually, but they are on page 100 something. So why is it now? Why don't we have like locations like this one, more of them all across Norway, all across the world, accessible to people to work together on making a startup? Maybe in AI, maybe in crypto, maybe in something else, right? That's a great question. Not gonna answer, we'll keep it rhetorical, pure rhetorical. So this is an example of not the startups, but these are startups accelerators or companies that do work with startups. In this building, by the way, luckily we have one. We have at least, no, we have two, sorry. We have Antler that are just second floor. You might have known them. If you have a startup idea, please go to Antler. Awesome guys, love them. Good advice. And also Catapult. Catapult is on the last floor of this building, I believe. Also a nice accelerator, but the entrance level to Catapult is sort of steep. So to Antler is much more realistic. But when you scale, it's a more scale-up accelerator, I think. So Catapult could also work for you, maybe. Depends on what you're doing, what's your startup idea, and things like that. So, of course, speaking about challenges for the startups, well, this list probably could be exploded in all the dimensions, because for a startup, it largely depends on what they are doing. But the most important part is market entry barriers. So you need some money to spin the wheel, right? And to obtain the starting money is the hardest. So when you get some money going already, it's much, much easier. But when you have nothing, this is the hardest to, start moving the large, heavy item. It's the hardest moment to inertia. And then it starts moving and you can push it further. So when you get some funding, you can get more funding if you need it, if you are doing the right thing, if you're developing something important. Access to funding, so basically that's connected. Localization, especially nowadays, localization, a lot of markets are, unfortunately, they are starting to become a little bit distorted or disconnected, maybe the proper word. And so we need to localize, but we also need to find a way to localize without disrupting the main project idea. I think that would be the best. And also, of course, logistic and supply chain, especially for startups that work with physical stuff like hardware, or some other like delivery, maybe supply chain management, stuff like that. So this is also an important challenge that needs to be solved for startups to grow. Basically, I think important things here, what we will see, the growth of innovation hubs and collaborative networks, and that's what I'm going to push. That's why I'm having these meetups every time, right? Because I want more innovation hubs, more collaborative networks, and more tech investments. That's what we need to push all together. And right now it's a bit globalized, right? Like all the companies are globalized, and even the startups that are managed to do the thing, like Uber, let's mention Uber, right? It was a great idea, it was a great app, and what it is now, I don't know. So some startups need also to find a way to build a framework that doesn't, they were going this way, but at some point they started going a little bit this way, and now they ended up completely different location where they were going. So this is very, very sad news actually. Red Hat also got sold to IBM. I think this is horrible as well. So there's like a lot of things like that happening, and I think this is like when you start to go the wrong way from your original plot. And if you have been continuing going this way, original plotting course that you made for your own business, you might succeeded much, much better than if you just sold to someone or started doing something else that is more profitable, Anyway, moving to the next topic, 3D printing, modeling. It's a little bit different domain. It's maybe a bit smaller, but I found the COGO rate about 20 for printing and 13% for scanning. And actually, I think this area is more important now because less developments are happening there. But it needs to grow to these levels to be able to be efficient, cheap, and affordable for everyone. Because printing is already available for everyone, and scanning is getting there, but it's a bit slow. But it will get there eventually, I hope. So the market right now is $17 billion, and it will grow 6-fold in 10 years rate, or that's the estimation from these guys, at least. These are some of the brands you might have known. So this actually is 6 images connected together because each of the images I found online had so many gaps in them, so I had to put 6 of them together. These are mostly 3D printing companies that make 3D printers. These are more like larger companies that also make 3D printers and scanners. These are some producers of printers and filaments and whatnot. So this ecosystem is also large, and it's also will most likely continue to grow faster. So also, if you have a startup in this area, I think you should consider working on that. Yes, so for 3D printing, a very important thing is of course quality control, because this is like the hardest part of any production process probably, and 3D printing is a sort of a, it's both prototyping and production. So if you do, in the beginning it's prototyping, but then it moves to production, and when you move to production you need to save quality. So how do you save quality when you scale up? How do you do that with 3D printing? Its answer is not that clear, so we need to think about it and we need to find answers. Actually, Bamboo Lab, I think they sort of found an answer, a little bit of advertisement for them, because they made a sort of affordable 3D printer that produces very high quality from the box results. But there is a lot of different other printers that are good enough also, but it is will improve even further. And then we need new materials. There are some combinations of wood and metal and so on and so forth, but we need better material selection for the future. We need better speed. We need better handling of some complex problems or complex shapes. And of course, we need to manage the costs, because if we are going to make a startup that we're going to work, that it needs to be self-sufficient and labor efficient and so on. And also, yeah, regulatory compliance, you cannot go around it. So for 3D printing, it will also affect you if you're going to sell at scale. And if you're not going to sell at scale, then it's just a hobby, right? It's not a business, and we are speaking about markets and businesses here. So current state of things is that basically it already enables people to develop prototypes. It is really good at that. It has a lot of applications that we can use it for. I actually have an example 3D print with me. I forgot to take it out, but it's somewhere in there. Yeah, and basically we have challenges that I discussed, and in the future, through the innovation, we will reach a point when everybody can afford 3D printing, and not only plastics. I'm really hopeful to see the PCBs, like printed circuit boards, to be printed right away at your home, and maybe even some other things like, you know, bakery, whatnot, different other topics. Actually, chocolate printers are already a thing, and pastry printers are already a thing. So there's more and more dimensions appearing in that area. Sustainable tech. That's also hard to estimate market, but the rate of growth is about 26%, and probably following the agenda, it will be even faster. So that's what we should invest in, I suppose, and it's also good for the environment, so why don't we do that? And these are companies, well, they are saying that they are green. Maybe they are green at some point, some of them a little bit, maybe more. But it could be also greenwashing. I don't know. Probably it could be both, actually. A lot of them probably could be both. So some of the departments really can push the green agenda, the good green agenda forwards. And then the other ones will just, you know, hide behind the curtain of reporting. They will try to report some good numbers, but in reality they wouldn't change anything inside of their business process. So I try to like find different companies. So I found this. Well, some of them repeat, but maybe it's a little bit better, maybe not. I don't know, you decide. But the problem with this area, I try to find like a new small companies that are in sustainable tech, but it's so hard. Every time you search for these companies, they just largest pop up, like Philips and Adobe and Coca-Cola. So that's what we are stuck now, I guess, for now. Maybe you can find your own, do your own research. And the challenges of the sustainability is basically that you need to be able to produce more goods quicker, cheaper, higher quality, higher longevity, and also recyclable. So how do you do that? It's kind of contractive requirements, right? So you build your requirements list and you try to follow it, and yeah, you might have some decisions to make where you cannot fully find the ways that you like to use during your processes, but in the future it should improve. So policies and regulations are there for that matters, and we are building on top of that. Yes, and also interesting supply chain transparency. This part is like, it's connected to sustainability, it's also connected to crypto, it's also connected to blockchain, it's connected to so many things that actually, like supply management, supply chain, transparency, or actually not only transparency, but just performing the supply chain in itself is an interesting topic. It has also ethical sourcing concerns and transparency and so on and so forth. So this is an interesting domain to work in if you are searching for a startup area or domain that you might have to think about that. I also found this interesting infographics. I don't think I agree with all these sustainable development goals, but with most of them. So here they are. I mean, I don't know if they are sorted by some matters or not. If you know who did this, maybe you know. Yeah? You can just say. Hmm?
UN.
Oh, so yeah, you got it, but yes, they build it. But the question here is, like, they probably have under each of these points, they have like the plan or the agenda to push forwards. But the thing with all UN is that they are like regulatory, but not entirely regulatory. So they're gonna publish it, and people will look at it, and people will implement it. But I don't think it's sort of enforced. So maybe some of these things needs to be enforced. I don't know. Or not enforced, but at least you know, a little bit more straightforward, lean, described, documented. How are we gonna achieve these goals? You know, maybe I need to do more research on that to understand that it's actually there. Maybe not. Well, we will see how many companies follow that agenda and how many of them will succeed actually. Yes, so we need a lot of technological advances to be able to do sustainable tech and continue to build new stuff while it's becoming better for the environment, not worse for the environment as it was before. Moving to the next topic, closer to the end, robotics and automation. This is also a sort of large market. It grows about 12 folds in 10 years. 33% CAGR, and basically these are some of the companies that are working around that right now. And more and more players are joining in this because this sector is in particular conjuncted or joined with AI, right? So before that, without AI, we had to do a lot of manual steps for each of these domains. It was really, really hard. But now, as we do have AI, we can just, you know, teach the AI, start training the AI, and eventually the AI will train itself to do the task, and it can also replicate what humans do, so it can follow your actions and then learn from your actions, just like your child does that, right? So in the same way, in the same manner. So actually, right now, it's much better for this trend, and I think this trend will even grow further than these experts suggest. I also wanted to, yeah, there's like also ethical concerns always. So we need to think about how would we work with that, and that's a tough question for everyone, I think, because, you know, it's already there, like everybody can buy their robot dogs, you know, and like nice ones, so like that will entertain you or do some small tasks for you, or if you're a company, you can buy a robot dog to, you know, check your equipment and whatnot. But also, like, okay, so some people already started putting fire throwers on them and and some guns and so on and so forth. So obviously we can't control that; it's already happening. But you know, EMP weapons. Not all countries, not every home have an EMP weapon, but maybe get one for your home, just in case, right? So make your microwave a EMP weapon, because it already is. So yeah, so there is a lot of concerns and about safety, complexity, reliability of that. And we will see where it goes, but that is an interesting topic, and it's a growing market, that is for sure, for certain. And what is happening, of course, the same thing. You see the same trend on almost every market. It's getting more affordable, and more production is happening from different companies. There will be better tech that will unlock a lot of new possibilities and new toys. Like tinkerers are already starting to get these originally very expensive toys, but now they really dim in price. For instance, like the Robot Dog, the original Boston Dynamics one, it's about 20K, right? I think it's 20K, or without any equipment or so. Now from China you can buy almost certainly the same dog for 1K. So, and it's almost the same quality. So that's interesting, and this is just in 3, 4, 5 years. So people are taking example of each other, and they are growing together quicker. So this market definitely is accelerating more. And these robots will have more autonomy. We will see more of them in the future. And we've also already seen some delivery bots that are going around cities. Most of the time they're okay, right? It's going to make prices of delivery cheaper and simpler for people, not have to deliver it manually. So a lot of benefits to that, but we also need to think about how we will manage all these things. Biotechnology and genomics. I really want to ask if there will be some guest to our event at some point that will talk about this topic. But right now we don't have him or her to speak, so I will speak a little bit about this market. So there's like three sub-markets that I had to choose because this is like also a large topic. So biotech 14%, health tech 16%, telemedicine 26%. So actually telemedicine is growing quicker. I think that's due to the fact that we have all the online hybrid things going right now in the world, right? And the quality is improving a lot, so we don't have to go to doctor anymore. So these new areas, they are sort of new and they will probably go this way, so they will scale up quite some, about 4 times in 10 years, that's going to be the growth rate. So these are some of the health tech companies, that's unfortunately from 2 years ago, but you might know some of them. And as you can see, there's a lot of companies, some of them are better known, some of them are not known at all. But this topic is really, really interesting, and this is like a special topic. I think it's like above everything because like prolonging life, space traveling, all this connected to this health tech domain. And I'm feeling this is something we need to focus more on. So if I'm correct and more companies are focusing on it right now and more people will focus on that in the future, that means the prediction is wrong and the market will grow even quicker than the numbers that were on the previous slides. So what are the challenges of biotechnology developments? First of all, of course, regulatory hurdles. That's the highest level problem right now in most of the countries. If you're going to develop something for health tech, you're going to go through a lot of certifications and you cannot afford them. You cannot just, a lot of these certifications cost like $200,000. You might have this money as a startup, but then that's all of your money. So would you pay $200,000 just to try to certificate your new device? So you just ignore it, so you don't certify. And then if you don't certify, people a little bit more cautious about it, so you might not. Actually, I know some examples of really good medical equipment developments that were not unable to push to the market because of high entry level, so only large companies can afford that, and then they just got not implemented. That's really a sad story, and a lot of these devices actually can help to save lives. Like I had this cancer device that is, how you call it, when it's indirect without taking your blood, without taking samples physically, like you just like touch some area and it scans you, and the error rate is like 96% correct. So you don't actually, and this also for diabetics, like, I forgot the medical term for that. Yeah, doesn't matter. Maybe someone remembers it later. But basically, uninvasively, maybe, something like uninvasively. Yes, so this is very interesting, and we need this kind of developments, but then we need more financing, and then we need a little bit of relaxation of the governmental mechanism in this particular domain. So we need them to straighten up in one place and to release in the other one, because otherwise there will be no innovations, and the innovations can be only held by largest conglomerates that will actually keep these innovations to themselves and will not develop them further, at least, or if they're going to publish it and if they're going to make it work, they will sell it for a lot of money, so people couldn't do that. Actually, there's a real example. There's this, for blind people, there's this braille pads that you can write, so you can actually write a message to a blind person in a braille alphabet, and this it's like a plastic beads, like back and forth, and the company that made them, they sold this like plastic toy basically. I think it's like $1,000 or $2,000, and nothing special. So one guy just bought it and he made a 3D printer version of it. That cost you about 50 cents to produce. Absolutely the same quality or even better. So that's what is happening, right? So we should do something about it. Thankfully, we have some ways around it, but not in all domains that's happening. And not with all devices, and not all the people are so pushy. So, precision healthcare, that's what we're gonna see in the future, definitely. So, medicine tailored to our needs, the drugs tailored to our needs, and so on. AI that will do predictive analysis and will tell you which problems you might have in the future, so you could take steps right now not to have these problems at all. So that's kind of cool, and it is already an area of development. And of course, remote care, telemedicine, I already talked about that. And Yes, regulations, I think they need to change, because right now they're sort of old school and very, very tight, so to say. This is, I think, last topic, which is personalized things. So this is also connected to 3D printing, this is also connected to production, to supply chain, to startups, so to many things. It was kind of hard to find estimates, but I found about 8% growth, and I think this market is very different from all what I described. Why? It is because it's very new. So right now we have semi-customized production of things. We have a choice, we have a selection of goods, but we don't have completely personalized. And I think we will have more and more of that. So in the end, in the future, we will have completely customized device or thing or a project or a stool or whatever table that will be customized to our needs, and it will be more ecological to produce that customized one than the mass-produced uncustomized one. I believe that's going to happen at some point. We just need to improve the processes to be able at least to equalize in price with the mass-produced goods. So as you can see here, companies, maybe somebody knows them, I don't know, maybe Ultimaker, but again, it's 3D printing. So I don't know actually companies in this domain, and I think this is a very important domain to grow, and probably on the basis of someone. So you need to go to large companies, most likely right now, like Siemens or Ultimaker or somebody else who wanna do that thing and try to sell this idea to them, maybe. I don't know. So that's an opportunity for emerging market. So if you're searching for a startup idea, here you go, personalized things. So you can go with furniture, or you can go with any device or whatever you would want to do. Of course, the challenges are still there, and they are mostly matching. So scalability, technological, you need a high technological level of knowledge in your team to be able to make it, right? You need to integrate everything together. You need to do a high level of quality control. There are still some concerns about privacy and ethics. Always they are, and they will be, that's all right. And you also need to cost manage, as always. But I think these challenges will be solved in the future, and we will find the solutions. And especially if we do the startups, in this area, that would be awesome. So I think the demand for customized things is growing, and it will be even further growing in the future. So hyper-personalization is what I'm speaking. So when you can personalize almost every aspect of the thing you are buying, that is already possible with NFTs, with some digital goods, with some games. Not maybe hyper, but very close to that, right? And it's going even further, and it will be better. Maybe it could use even biometrics data or some data from your metaverse headset, and so on and so forth. And we need more advanced technologies to make it to the future, right? And we need to enable these things to do the mass production of unique things. That's like a little bit counterintuitive, but I feel it can be done, mass production of unique things. Last topic of today is basic income. This is like not really a market. Can you call it a market? Probably you can. Like a market can be negative, net negative, or positive, right? So this is sort of a net negative market, because instead of earning money on this market, you lose money on this market. But I still include it in the research in my presentation, because I think it's an important topic, and it will also grow. It's just that you can earn money with it actually. It's just the model that are used to earn money with it is a bit more hard, and especially these models are right now they are used by governments, and they have started to get used by governments. I think there is examples, yes. Finland, Canada, Spain. I think some other countries took this approach as well, and there are some companies that are trying local initiatives, private initiatives. But this is very, very, very new. So we will see definitely a large growth here. But this is Finnish results that I found, at least. Not the results, sorry. These are their model that they built to what they used to like. They said this is a basic income. So this is what they provided. So they provide like 900 euros. So where the average student gets, you see, average of anyone gets more. But then again, if you don't do anything of these, you might have zero as well. So then it's quite a lot of money. So it is debatable, but I don't completely agree that this is basic income. It's sort of a rudimentary version of it. I think basic income is this one. So when you will be provided with that level of funds, not of course entrepreneur level, not employed level, but also not unemployed or student level. So sort of a retired level. So when you will be in the middle with basic income, so you will be able to give, let's say, $2,000 or $3,000, $2,500 to your people in your country or in your location. It doesn't matter crypto or physical money or any actual goods, not even money. Then that could be really called the basic income incentive and basic income program. So people not only need to be able to support themselves on this program, but actually thrive. That's my overview of it at least. So right now these researches are not really good ones, but at least something that we can think about and discuss, right? So challenges. Oh, there is a lot. There is a lot. Of course, where do we get money and how do we build a model of funding, right? Because it's so hard to fund something that will lose money all the time. So it's like a pension fund sort of a thing. How do you make it? You need to be in Norway to make it, right? So it's not going to happen overnight, and a lot of companies and a lot of people need to think it through. Maybe make like a new companies, like a new investment companies that will eventually in 10, 20, 30, 50 years make it spin, make it possible to do this thing. Or maybe make a new ecosystem in crypto. That would shrink it from 30 years to 5 or less. So you can actually make your own crypto and you can build your basic income model on that. But then again, you need to consider if you're gonna allow people to get a crypto, it's gonna drop in price, right? So you need to support the price, and to support the price, you need to buy from the market, and to buy from the market, you need money. So then we're back at point one, right? So crypto solves this problem, but not entirely. It allows you to kickstart a little bit, but after you kickstart it, you need to find a way to move that. Of course, we have a social stigma, because a lot of people will say, oh, what the hell? This person is earning money while not working, and I'm working hard, and I'm just earning $200 more. People will tell that, but also right now, nothing is different. Right now it's the same, because there are different salaries, different companies, even in the same countries, even in the same areas. So it's not a lot of difference right now. It's just that people will get a bit more free money, and I think it's wrong to assume that these people will be not doing anything with them. And I think the Finnish experiment showed that actually people don't waste this money on like lotteries or just waste the money in general, but they actually use it cleverly. Of course, that might be because of the framework that they were limited to, but I'm almost certain over time, over a couple of months, people will start actually using money deliberately on some good goals, good tasks. So that's actually improving the society in general. There's of course a growing cost of living that you need to find a way to solve with the basic income, because if you're going to provide $2,000 but your accommodation costs $4,000, then would it help? So you still have to do a lot of work to be able to pay for that. So you need to think about it and build your model ahead. It's very complex administratively, obviously, also with like a law side of things. It's very hard to make it work, but I think it has a large impact on the welfare of people, and that will allow a lot of people to breathe freely, because I know a lot of people that are constantly asking one question: how I can earn a lot of money quickly without doing anything, right? And they don't really ask this question because they don't want to do anything. They ask this question in sort of like, they don't have a solution. They really want to find a solution. And this could be a Kickstarter again for them to get some money to stabilize their lives and then to find something to do. So that is a very important topic that we need to consider, and we need to build startups upon, I think. So maybe consider that. And what is the state right now of the basic income? Well, I'd say state is almost non-existent. So apart from some experiments and some testing, not a lot of things, but some pilot programs are here and there, started every now and then, and that's good. We have to do a public discourse on these models. How could we implement them? How could we improve them? And of course, current state is that after the COVID, there was a lot of programs like that temporarily to support people because they were staying homes. A lot of people got fired and so on and so forth. Some of you and me might not be an exception as well. Directly or indirectly. So, but that's a bad thing to have it as a response to something. We should do it ourselves, not as a response to something. Just build it. So that's something that I would see in the future. Policy experimentation. So try new policies, implement new policies, develop them, and find ways to make this work. Social innovation, obviously, global movement. So this should be a part of social innovation, and it should make a global movement. Because without a global company, you cannot actually spin this disk for long enough. And this needs to be constant, non-stop program that will continue to work. Otherwise, it will be just an experiment that will end, and that's it. So, and of course, this will have a lot of technological impact. Why? Because that area, when people are free to do what they want, they will go to domains they never went to because they have some spare time to kill or to develop. So they will actually help to do a lot of automations, a lot of new developments, new startups. And in the program itself, even in the basic income itself, we need a lot of new developers to make it work. So technological impact of this topic is huge. And this slide you might have seen already if you've been to the previous events, but I think it's worth repeating it regardless, because if there's no basic income program right now, there are some ways that can replicate in some ways for you basic income. So these are just 4 examples that I found quickly, but there are hundreds of them with crypto especially. So what you could do, as an example, with crypto, you have some options of mining. You have an options of supporting the network, being a validator or building a master node and so on and so forth. You can participate in voting and testing of new blockchains and new projects. You can do yield farming, so you can provide, if you have a lot of money, especially if you're like a government or institution, you can provide yield farming. You can do yield farming. You can provide liquidity for markets that needs the liquidity. For instance, startup market, like crypto startup market, maybe. So you can provide liquidity for some exchanges that needs this liquidity. Staking, of course, you can save your coin. You can grow your stakes. You can just buy and hold, do the classic investing. You can follow the airdrops, marketing, data brokerage. So you can sell your data if you want to, instead of giving the data away for free to some large companies that we all know the names of now. We can instead control what are we going to share and how much money in crypto, how much crypto we're going to get for that data. So in normal world, you just register for Google account and you just give your data away to Google, but in the crypto world, you can actually, at least in the future, that's what I think will happen, you can actually say, okay, I'm gonna give away this data, but I want this in return, this amount of money, this amount of services, and so on and so forth. So, yeah, basic income, obviously, normal income, yeah, you can just earn crypto, there's, also if you earn normal money, you can actually switch to, you can register, there's like BitWage project, there's many others, but BitWage is the one I remember. So if you want to get your salary in crypto, you can go to BitWage, register IBAN number there, international bank number, then give this bank number to your employer, and this employer will change the bank number to that, and then in the BitWage panel, you can set to get crypto, so that any company in the world will pay you. Well, it will seems to you like it pays. Of course, it will still pay bank transfers, but then this bank transfer will be automatically split the way you want, and of course, BitWage takes a small commission. But this commission is much smaller than most of the bank commissions, so that's fine. And of course, there are games that you can play to earn some money. So these are some examples. This like on the verge of difference. So you get some airdrops from these apps. You can get some. You walk. For the Stapan and for the Sweatcoin, you walk and you get this money. This Swift demand is actually just get money, so it's a basic income program. GamerHash, you provide your GPUs to do AI or to do mining, and then you get some money. Yes, so let's wrap this long presentation up and try to take try to think about key takeaways that we had during it. First of all, wherever you want to go, I told this in my previous presentations, do your own research. Do your own research about every company, every startup, every idea. Try to get into that and think how would you work. And is it a good company? Is it a good idea? Does it work? Discuss it with your friends. Share it. Do not hide it. The most stupid idea of a startupper, the largest mistake of a startupper is to say, oh, I'm not going to tell my startup idea to anyone. I'm just going to hide it because it will provide me with an infinite amount of money, blah, 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 stuff like that. So this is the largest mistake, the most popular one. Share your idea, talk about it, because you're going to pivot 5-10 times. You're going to pivot many, many times until you develop the idea that will actually work, and it will probably not even earn you money. It will probably take your money instead. But then eventually, when you're made it good enough, then it will earn money. So yes, work on your team. Most important thing in the world of startups and making your projects, and even if you're researching on somebody else's project, what is the team? Who they are, what they do, are they good people, are they Trustworthy people, yes, maybe then interact with this project. No, then probably it doesn't worth it. All right, what else? Trends doesn't change overnight. So these trends that I discussed were growing for many, many, many years. And some of the last trends, if you remember, they are very, very new, so they have not grown yet. So you might get into these trends sort of for cheap, like you go to a new coin that just appeared, right, sort of for cheap. And being in this trend, you can see which companies are actually developing what, and then follow these companies, maybe buy their shares, maybe join their teams, do something with that. Yes, and the most important part here, I think, or, well, there's many important parts, but still search in this gender matrix that I just provided between the lines. So try to combine several different topics together and different domains and search between these lines. So maybe you want to say medical, crypto. Then you do a crypto project for medical. Maybe you do a hardware device for medical, but then you connect it to crypto because you can provide on the blockchain, you can make a system that will encrypt your data, but then you can have a key that you will give to your doctor, and then your doctor can get results from your device live. Isn't it awesome? There are devices like that already, but it's not a lot of them. And the blockchain could improve this connection, and 5G, 6G, and decentralized networks, and the internet as it was assumed to be, right? Right? It was built for that matter. So finally we get the internet that we wanted, and then we don't really utilize it enough, I think. This is like all of the topics that I discussed, and with the rates. So you can like look and think and estimate for yourself what is interesting for you. And also these are like the state of things. So is this a young market? Is it growing now? Is it a prospective market? Is it old market? Is it growing now again? Or is it like completely new? So yes, so think about it. Also, I will share my presentation as normal on the website, so you can go through it again if you want to. Read this, maybe do some suggestions, changes, you know, and also maybe at some point you would like to join and be here on the stage to give a talk on one of these points, or maybe something else. So, some links, I already shared most of them, but regardless, for the research that I've done, these are the websites. And of course, all the images are, almost all of them are copyrighted by the owners, but there was one image which is not copyrighted. And I'm really hopeful that more people, this is all, by the way, public domain. All my presentations and all your presentations, who is gonna be here, are shown as a public knowledge, public domain on the website. And I'm hoping you're gonna join this movement to make more things possible. Of course, this is limited to the data that I made, because I cannot change the rules for the pictures that are included in this presentation, but otherwise it is a public domain and you can use it as you like. Yes, so that's all for now. I hope you didn't get too bored. Thanks. Yes, so now you could stop the stream, and I would also say we don't have any more speakers, unfortunately, so we need all of you guys to help find speakers.